Hello, everyone. I haven't posted videos in a while. I've been actually rather busy, believe it or not. Even though it's the end of the summer, or getting to the end of the summer, there's always a lot of preparation that I have to make before we start the courses at City Tutoring. I've already been designing a few courses, taking in people registration. Those of you, by the way, who want to take the abstract algebra course, abstract algebra, not regular algebra, abstract algebra, we are taking registrations now for that. So if you're interested, you can email me City Tutoring Maths with an S at gmail.com. And we'll see what we can do. We're also offering we're offering Calculus 1 in the autumn semester, in the fall. So we have Calculus 1, all the algebras, but specifically also abstract algebra, but also algebra 2, etc. Pre-calculus as well. And there hasn't been demand this time for geometry. But if there is, if I get in order for a course to open, the policy is there has to be at least a minimum of 8 students. If there's fewer than 8 students, then we do independent study. But it's not worth opening a course if there's going to be less than, fewer than 8 students. But 8 students or more, and the course can open up. So if you're interested about prices and all that, you can email me. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but the information is readily available. And we take any age, although most of our students happen to are between the ages of, if they do the high school ones are around 17, 16, but we also have college students, mostly undergraduate students, though, between the ages of 18 all the way up to their late 20s. And we have students from North America, US, Canada, and no, not Mexico this time, although Mexico is North America, believe it or not. But we normally, unless because usually there's a language barrier. And all of our courses are in the English language. We don't do ESL here. We don't do bilingualism. We do the English language. And then we have also European students. We have students from the UK. I've had a few Australians also. I've been blessed with that. Love the Australians. They have no filter, and I really quite appreciate their ruggedness when it comes to describing things, especially the sad political situation that infects our Western nations today, thanks to things like, well, I won't get into it now. But anyway, I want to preface this by saying that this is not a hostile critique of the Honest Torus. Okay? I have, in fact, I have recommended his channel in the past. So, and I'm going to link his channel in the description. So I have no reason to have any sort of bad feelings towards the Honest Taurus. To the contrary, he seems to be a good chap, an honorable gentleman. And I say chap because he's, I think, based on where he's located and the way he sounds, he is English. He's of English extraction. But anyway, I want to address one of his most recent videos. And I want all of you listeners to really listen carefully to what I'm going to say, because today I want to address the fact that he's a young mathematician, and he's being seemingly dazzled by the shiny apparatus of artificial intelligence. He has descended, as he tells us, from the clouds of what I would consider to be Platonic mathematics to the circuitry of silicon, only to proclaim, like some budding technological prophet, that the future belongs not to human genius, but to its mechanical parity. So, if you'll allow me to examine his video with the scalpel of reason, for I do not fear AI, nor do I worship it. I recognize it as what it is, a resource. And a resource, properly used, elevates man. It's always been that way. But improperly used, it will only expose his mediocrity. Our student, and I'm going to refer to him as our student because I don't know his real name. I only know that the name of his channel, which is the Honest Torus. So he must have his reasons for that. But so we'll say our student. So our student begins with naming some of the famous people and facts behind the AI push. You have Elon Musk trumpeting some new model. You have AI winning medals at the International Mathematical Olympiad. We know about Zuckerberg sprinkling fortunes upon mathematical wonderkinder. But you have to pause for a moment because I myself have had occasion to speak to people that are motivated by the rise of AI simply because it's being promoted by people they see as successful in business. And this invocation, the invocation of celebrity names and dollar signs, is not an argument for me. It is sophistry. It's rather like the rhetorical equivalent of a carnival barker shouting, "Step right up." And indeed, many do step up, dazzled by the glare, without ever asking what lies behind the curtain. If you ever saw that famous early 1980s film, The Fun House, you'll know what I'm talking about. 1981, The Fun House. Interesting film. So, what does it matter if a model wins a medal? Are you seriously saying, is anyone seriously comparing it to a human winning the medal? Did the model sweat and study? Did it know the anxious silence of the exam hall, the scratch of pencil on paper, the torment of uncertainty? Or did it merely regurgitate what billions of humans before it had inscribed into its vast digital pit? A medal earned by a machine is not the same as a medal earned by a man. And to conflate the two is to confuse the copy for the original, the photocopy for the manuscript, the parrot for the poet. Now, the student confesses when he himself asked ChatGPT about matrices, for example, the machine did not know its rows from its columns. Indeed, and what a delightful contradiction. In fact, right here on this channel, we have seen several examples of ChatGPT getting fundamental math wrong. I even made a video on it called I said, you use ChatGPT, you'll fail my class. You'll fail math. And you can find that in the playlists. On the one hand, you have AI. AI is hailed as the future of mathematical research. On the other hand, it fails at the most elementary distinctions of linear algebra, especially the free version. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not progress. This is parity. And what does our student do in response? Instead of recognizing the limitation of the tool, he abandons his own studies to construct what he calls some kind of agentic partner, which is a sort of digital sidekick for his mathematical musings. And one imagines at that point Don Quixote building Sancho Panza out of silicon. After all, we already have groups of men. I don't know all over the world. I know in America, sadly, we already have groups of men whose only option for a companion is silicon. But anyway, silicon is no substitute for the knight himself. And then we have the calculator analogy. But that fails too. Our student invokes, it's a very familiar comparison. Just as the calculator liberated man from tedious arithmetic, so AI shall liberate mathematicians to pursue the deeply human, quote unquote, the deeply human aspects of mathematics. It is an attractive thought, but it is a false analogy. And why is that? Because the calculator perfected a process already well understood. It performed exactly what we had already mastered, only faster. But AI, it's very different in this case. AI does not master what we already understand. It imitates understanding without possessing it. When a calculator gives you the square root of 2, you know the answer is reliable, indisputable. When AI gives you a proof, you must still suspect that the elegant edifice may conceal rotten beams. The calculator, it did save some from drudgery, but AI risks saving us from thinking itself. And a mathematician who ceases to think is not liberated. He is no mathematician at all. And then we have the fantasy of the thinking companion. So our student seems to grow intoxicated with visions of AI as a thinking partner that understands his brain, maps his tendencies, and converses with him like a fellow researcher. It's a marvelous fantasy. But note this, the very language betrays the sort of fantasia idealism I warned against in a video that I will pin in the comment section. So he wishes not for a tool, it seems, but for a companion, for a friend, a confessor, a mirror. This is not mathematics. It is really psychoanalysis disguised as technology. Because to seek in a machine what one should seek in a college, a reverend, a church, a mentor, a professor, or even a rival, is to confuse the realm of the intellect with the realm of affect. And mathematics is not therapy. A proof is not a hug. So our student discusses the resistance of mathematicians and why I'm going to talk about that too and why it is justified. He complains that mathematicians pop down from the clouds only to test ChatGPT on trivial tasks, then dismiss it and retreat. And he urges them to embrace the revolution. But you tell me, if a man, having tasted wine, finds it sour, is he guilty? Is he a bad person for declining another sip? I've been recently doing a lot of wine tasting myself. Horrible. Some of the wines that they sell from some of the California wines are just. I found out recently, by the way. This is a sort of a side note for those of you who appreciate wine, and it's really God's gift to us all. But I recently found out, unfortunately, that in the United States, I shouldn't be surprised actually, because our laws on food are disgusting. But I recently found out that the wine makers in the US are not actually required to disclose if they use artificial colors in the wine. So what I've done in response is I have stopped purchasing American-made wines, because since I don't have any guarantee that they are quality, that they are not made with some kind of artificial ingredient, I will now only purchase those that have some kind of certificate, either from Europe or elsewhere. Usually the French wines are one of the few good things that France does is their wine. I also have been appreciating recently Spanish wines as well. The Spanish wines are actually stronger in many ways. They have a fuller sort of body to them. So I do like that. But mathematicians, we resist, not because we are fearful dinosaurs, but because we recognize that rigor is non-negotiable. And mathematics without rigor is astrology with symbols. And AI, for all its fireworks, still stumbles like a drunkard scoundrel when asked to prove basic things what Euclid's schoolboys mastered 2 millennia ago. And then we get the funding fears. It's a false sense of urgency. He then wields the cudgel of fear, adapt or perish. Well, I've been around for longer than he has, probably. I don't know his age, but I presume. And here I am, and I've never gone with the crowd. I've never adopted or adapted anything that I don't want. You can still see my computer in the background. I do have a laptop for recording things, but most of my life has never changed. Why would it change? Why change something that works and is good? But his argument is you engage with AI or you watch your funding evaporate. Now that is true, but it's an irrelevant point to me. What is this if not the very defeatism that I always condemn? To make decisions out of terror, of obsolescence, of irrelevance, That's not mathematical thinking, that's hysteria. And universities, let me repeat this, are not tarot parlors where one goes to fulfill dreams. They are institutions where reality should be confronted. Reality should be at the forefront. And the reality is this: if you are afraid of being replaced by AI, then the problem is not AI, the problem is you. For no machine can replace rigor, creativity, or courage. It can only replace those who lack them. By the way, this is not an attack on the Honest Torus. Much to the contrary. This is what we call, see, some of you are not used to. Some of you might see this as I've been getting comments recently. Someone said that I was aggressive. This is the new mentality now, but this is what we've always considered to be friendly banter. We are having a debate about something. And I'm sure the Honest Taurus can handle himself well if he decides to respond. Um, so this is not in any way, for those of you sensitive types out there, this is not an attack. Like I said, I actually like that gentleman. He's a nice. I like his channel. There's no, but I want to address the arguments that he made in his video on AI. Now, to my younger audience, especially the Gen Z people who are watching this, you got to hear me on this. The problem of the age is not AI. The problem you really have is that it is an education that trains you to fear resources instead of mastering them. You are told to be terrified of the poodle while happily embracing the tiger. You shrink. Many of you, some people shrink or fear ChatGPT, and yet they plunged into TikTok, video games, and distractions that devour your mind far more ruthlessly, and has been doing it for the past decades, far more than any new algorithm. Not that the algorithms won't also do the same, but your minds are already rotted. There's nothing new to see here. And the fact is, students have always cheated. I'll get to that in a bit. But the real danger is not that AI will think for you. You already let institutions do your thinking for you. That's not new. The real danger is that you will stop thinking entirely altogether, because we still have a few people in the society who think, but each time fewer and fewer. But the reality about students, this is what I told the Honest Taurus in his video in the comments section. What I mentioned earlier was that students have always tried to find ways to cheat. In reality, what we have to really recognize, and this is what I told the Honest Taurus in his video in the comment section, if I recall correctly, the true fear is not coming from students or researchers. It's really the professors who are unsettled. And I want to say something that many of you are probably not going to be surprised, but the vast majority of your professors, at least I don't know in the UK, these days. I used to know the UK very well, but these days I don't know what's going on there. I've heard really negative things, but I don't want to get into that. But here in the US, the majority of professors, even in the best, so-called best universities, are adjunct professors. Many of them look even sloppier than the students themselves. Some of them use the most foul language imaginable. So really, it's them. It's the professors who are scared of AI. Many of them are now facing a force that exposes their so-called authority as far less indispensable than they imagined, because it lays bare the fiction that grading is some sacred craft. And all it is it's a mechanical. Grading is really a mechanical application of an arbitrary rubric. The significance is often meaningless. So in the US, an A, so-called, can signify vastly different levels of mastery depending on the institution, depending on what state you're in, and until recently, even in some places now, depending on your race, because of DEI. They didn't want students to feel bad. Some students who were clearly not qualified, they didn't want them to feel bad, so they would give them a higher grade than they would have otherwise received. But I've seen so-called honor students who stumble and fail on a simple pre-algebra test here at City Tutoring. And many professors believe, mistakenly, that they still wield any kind of genuine authority these days. You have no authority, my dear professors, these days. All your authority has been stripped away. Um, for years, universities have already bowed to the whims of the marketplace, the so called market. And all they've done, much like AI will do, by the way, is sell knowledge as a commodity rather than defending it as a calling. So it threatens nothing. AI doesn't really threaten anything that was truly human. It does not think. It does not create. It imitates. It rearranges. Yes, but if you really elevate a machine, a robot, to the role of educator, that's an insult both to the student, you, and to the noble idea of instruction itself. Because for me, anyway, teaching has always been more than just the mere transfer of information. Anyone can get information. We've been able to get information for decades. In fact, if you read back in the 19th century, when books were very expensive and not as readily available as today, you already had students who had notes that were copied, and they circulated notes among themselves. That's not the hard part. It is really, for me, teaching is the shaping of character, the stirring of judgment, the awakening of the soul. And even if these concepts strike today's listeners, many of you, as maybe irrelevant or quaint, some of you think I'm crazy. You'll say it. I know it. I had the other day an email, a really nasty email. Somebody said, "You're a psychopath." Well, I take that as a compliment coming from some of the people who oppose me. But it's really you're drowned in your desire for flattery. That's the problem many of you face. You're drowned in your desire for flattery and comfort rather than the truth. And what AI can never offer you, because it doesn't possess any inner life, is precisely what defines humanity: conscience, discernment, taste, virtue, grief, transcendence, spirituality. The philosophers of old really understood this. It's nothing new. Plato did not entrust wisdom to formulas, nor did Seneca bind ethics to systems. They wrote expecting engagement, reflection, wrestling with the material, not mere rote repetition. And yet today, we are in an era enamored of shortcuts, speeds. Listen to the way people talk these days, so fast. Everyone is always looking at their watch or their phone, and all they care about is efficiency. I've been told that in some of my written posts on this channel. Why don't you make your post shorter? Well, because I don't dumb down the content for idiots. We trade rigor for convenience and excellence for the metrics of some kind of corporate expediency. No, thank you. So we need to come to the conclusion then. Let us, as we began, with clarity. Artificial intelligence is a resource. I know it's a reality. And to oppose AI, it's a ridiculous statement, by the way. That would be like saying he opposes cars or he opposes smartphones. There's nothing to, it's a reality. You cannot oppose the reality. It's not going to change. But it is not a savior. It is not your friend. It is neither your enemy. If you wield it, it can perhaps in many areas multiply your powers. If you worship it, it will expose your impotence. And to the student who left his mathematics for the dream of a digital partner, I will tell you this: beware. Because when the dream fades, you may find yourself holding not a companion, but a mirror. And in that mirror, you will see not the reflection of AI, but the measure of your own inadequacy. Listen, mathematics does not belong to silicon. It belongs to us, but only to those who dare to think. So stop fearing shadows. Stop outsourcing your courage. AI is neither your master. It is neither your friend either. It is you should see it as a tool, your servant. And if you cannot master your servant, then do not call yourself a mathematician. That's all for today.